At long last, I get to give this game the respect it deserves. The expansion has come out and has confirmed pretty much everything I needed to know about this game. That it's fun, that it has like endless customization, weapons. I haven't even unlocked all the weapons in this expansion so far because I just, get lost doing various things. Like you'll find like these little like tunnels in the ground and you can just go right through them, and then, yeah, you get hit by these like gas pipes and stuff. Mind you, I'm wearing the shield auxiliary, whatever equipment. Everybody who's gonna be like playing multiplayer is gonna frown on it. They're gonna be like, "Yeah, don't use this. It's just too good." Mine is like at a A grade, so it just pretty much blocks everything. But you know, I've been holding off on putting on like reviewing this game because I actually wanted to go through it thoroughly and see if it was, you know, basic, if it was worth it, if like what's the longevity of this game. And the best way for me to describe it is my relationship with Monster Hunter, specifically World, because that's where I started, right? Um, like unlike Rise, World to me was like a very full game. Like I didn't really expect there to be more, even though I knew that there was going to be an expansion pack coming out, and I kind of knew the nature of these games with the whole G rank. So much like, the higher ranks, you get better upgrades, better weapons, a new rarity, red rarity, which is great. So you can see in my build, I have some of the new red items. I mean attachments. Sorry. So that will increase damage, memory capacity, so my ability to hold, heavier weapons, better defense, all that stuff. And here I'm going to showcase two of the new Omega bosses because they threw, I think, three. So the reindeer, the giant, like, everybody calls it the ball sack. I call it like the, what do you call it? The lychee, gigantic red lychee, lychee flower or whatever. And then the other one was that gigantic bearing centipede. Sorry if I don't know the names of these things. It's just like the names are like some either ancient Greek or ancient Roman, whatever. They're just hard to pronounce. But as you can clearly see, like even with fully upgraded gear, you're going to at least I found in a multiplayer setting, like maybe the boss health has been increased, much like Monster Hunter games, where yeah, if you're fighting solo, it's going to be easier than fighting, in a full party or fighting with just like two people. So I made that observation when fighting some of these monsters. Like these battles can take somewhere from 2 to 10 minutes. It's not annoying. It's just like something to consider when playing multiplayer. Like you can't. Like I joined two people instead of hosting because I was just checking the connectivity and stuff. And yeah, it tends to crash sometimes, mostly when I'm doing multiplayer. I mean multi-platform, which I specified in my previous reviews. But it's not that big of a deal. Like you'll like find games that you'll like play in for 2, 3, 4 hours, and like I had like a bunch of footage that I had to like basically cut because then the review is gonna be like 40 plus minutes. I'm like, this is the finale of this review. Like, who the fuck is gonna watch like basically an hour, 2 hours plus of a review? And it's like not even professional. Doesn't have all that edited bullshit. You don't see my like face on the face cam, all that crap. And it's like, who cares, man? It's all about this game. And like I have to give it the respect it deserves because the Armor Core community, the mecha community as a whole, just write it off, right? So it's just us, Japanese people, and like really, hardcore mecha enthusiasts. Mostly those who grew up on that kind of stuff. I think this was like the age after Transformers, and then like kind of gearing towards from Power Rangers growing up as a kid to like, Tekka Man Blade to even more like, think crazy shit like Evangelon. Like, I actually, and this is probably going to be one of the bigger sins as a mech fan, I actually did not get into Code Geass that much. I don't know why. It just the mech designs just seem too like whatever for me. But I can understand the appeal of it. The storyline's cool. Like the atmosphere and like, the world is pretty cool. So I can understand like why this might not be like everybody's cup of tea, but it is very much my cup of tea. So the new environment that you get to explore in is much like a nightmare version of like every single like sections of the map that you have in the other levels, except taken to the extremes. So like we're talking about like tons of like like they're all Omega classification monsters. So all Omega Immortals, all Omega Strays, and they all hit like really really hard. Like if you have low defense, you're going to get one shotted easily. So it is like medium and heavy arsenals and up, but also you're better off just running a satellite shield. Like there is no shame in running the satellite shield. Although I like the rest of the Damon X community, like all like seven of us would like disagree with me. Shout outs to Eclipse. Shout outs to Negative Gaming. Shout outs to John Rowe. Shout outs to Fluffy, Roxy. Those are like the Japanese players. I don't even know if they can understand what I'm saying. Well, I think Roxy can actually speak English, so that's pretty cool. Um, Crap. And then, like, Prodigy Gaming, he started off making guides to this game. I gotta check his page, seeing if he followed up with the expansion because he's like a busy guy. He probably like plays all these other games and shit. It's like, ah, fuck it. This game's good, man. I don't need to do anything else in this game. I think it's like you run into that problem where you make guides or you play this game and then like you leave it alone and then when you come back to it, they patched out every single thing that you use to your advantage. So like I was using his guide to get like the best attachments and stuff. Like, oh, this is what you do, right? And then they patched it. I'm like, oh my god, one of the biggest ones. And I think like this is the one that hurt people the most. Like, okay, you're gonna spend 2, 3, 4 hours, however much time, like flying to the top, like before you go through the atmosphere, like you're just there, high up on orbit, right? Orbital station. I forget what it's called. Some Jupiter thing. See, like that's what I mean about these names. Like I can't pronounce them. It's like I'll say one thing and then it's like I'll ask like Google and I'll just like pronounce something else. But yeah, and then they patched out all the arsenals, all the defeated arsenals, so you can't pick up all the attachments and stuff. Which is, I mean, in hindsight, it kind of seems like a mute point for me to bring that up, seeing as like now we have level 4 and level 5 attachments, so that's going to basically factor out like the other ones. So it's much like when you start the game, you get like these level 1/level 2 attachments, which is like white and blue respectively, right? And you're like, oh, that's kind of cool. I can increase, do this, do that. And then you get the purple ones, like, oh, it increases it way more. So I'll just go with the purple ones, get rid of these white ones, get rid of these blue ones, right? And now it's just like that with the purple ones. Like you don't necessarily have to get rid of them, right? If you don't have any yellows or reds, but the second you get a red one, right? Like why would you want to have a purple memory capacity up when you can have a red one and then have more memory? Like there's no downside to it. Which is cool. But they are missing, at least from my playthrough so far, because I could, I've missed it myself. They are missing some of the more interesting ones, like auxiliary armor, which gives you like both basic defense and VP up, but it's like substantial. But it also increases your weight like by 25%, so it's probably gonna like jump to like 30, 35%. And you're so big. But like there are like uses for that where you can have like a really heavily armored like fist or legs, and then you use punch or kick respectively, and it stun locks enemies more easily, right? So there are case uses for that. But it also has like a bit of a storyline to it. It's nothing to care about, and it's nothing to like expand on like the story from the base game. So you're not really missing out on anything. Like you could just go through this entire storyline, skip cutscene, and you will not miss a thing. It's just yeah, that's one of the downsides of this expansion is that the storyline is not, does not follow up on the events of the thing. Although technically it treats it like yeah, this is what happens after the storyline, but it's like there's no recurring characters, there's no follow-ups, there's no loose ends that are like closed or whatever. So there's that. The unfortunate. If people, if you're into storylines in mech games, if I actually tried to get back into Mech Warrior, at least for the sake of like diversifying like my gameplay footage, and then like I tried to like read some of the stuff like that is a game that like again it's drawing from the source material, but like as far as reading goes, you're reading a novel, and then you're like taking your mechs to a garage and like doing every single thing for them. Even the thickness of the armor, it's ridiculous. Like not in a bad way, because it's like I appreciate the attention to detail and the fact that you can do it. It's just when you introduce that many options, it just becomes like you just want to do something more simple, like jump around and like whatever. Like I think before this, like I heard about this from the previous game too. One of the things that turned me off initially from this game was the fact that there was a lack of leg types. But again, this is ignorant to the fact that this is a stat game, so there are movement types: the jump, the speed, the boosting, and then now that we have an aerial type where you have like aerial speed on par with like ground movement speed. So that's really cool. Like they're really pushing the boundaries of like what you can achieve in this game. Like they even introduced a new shield. I mean, I'm the only one who noticed it. I've never seen anybody use it, but it has really good stats, and it's like the thing with shields is rocking a shield means that you can use one-armed firearms and then hold the shield out, but yeah, you can't use two hands. You can't use melee weapons outside of spears, and then you get the one attack. Like I call this like the phalanx strike, where you have their guard up, and then you can attack while you're guarding, but you can't do it consecutively like Elden Ring or whatever, right? It's just it's more or less like a defensive attack, if anything. So why do I bring it up? Because they introduced like a bunch of new weapons, like one hand like energy machine guns, new rifles, new energy shotguns, yeah, a whole bunch, and it's really cool in the way that we now have like a more diversified damage type weapon lineup. So if people who like to use tachis, which are like ninja blades, samurai swords, whatever, right? Now you get like an energy version of that, and then likewise you get an energy version of bow and arrows, which is really cool. So I'm probably going to look into building like a brand new hunting build specifically for hunting down like higher level attachments and upgrades and all that stuff, right? And then we have energy knife, which is really really nice. I think Eclipse is gonna love that because Eclipse and my other friend Afro, fuck, I forgot his name. Whatever, my friend who plays with me in Damon X. I haven't actually seen him in the longest time. So now we have a knife that can do damage to armored and mechanical enemies, which is, nice because it's just like imagine having like a weapon type and it's just only good against organic enemies, and then you'll encounter some of those enemies that have armor on them or like sections that you have to break off, and then again the knife becomes completely ineffective. And same thing with the tachi, and same thing with the bow. My friend also liked to use the bow. For Afro, liked to use the bow. Oh, cool guy, cool guy. I'm actually thinking about getting into the bow. Oh, it's funny because it's like a lot of these weapons that I barely ever use. They're either like level 5 or level 10 tops. All the rest of them are like maxed out. So I bring that up because, again, we get the level 4 and the level 5 attachments, and now I get weapon mastery. Level 5, I got one today. So if I use these like weapons, I can just like, practice with it and just like level them up to the maximum level, which gives me increased critical damage, critical range, reload time, etc. All the good stuff that comes with mastering your weapons. But we also got to talk about the new weapon type, which is the sword whip, which totally got me by surprise. I saw it in the trailer. I'm like, oh, that looks novel, it looks neat, it looks cool. But like, it just seems like that. It just seems like a novelty, right? And then I got into using it, and man, I'm not gonna spoil it for you because it's unfortunately the final boss's weapon. It's funny how they show it off in the trailer. I'm like, oh wow, I can't wait to get this. Play through the entire like, DLC. It's the bosses, the last final bosses one. But this is why I like this game for having like boss rushes, because that would just be a pain in the ass to just you know go through the whole facility just to fight this one dude to get that thing. Mind you, like it's not the most tedious. In fact, I'll go as far as to say that like trying to navigate facilities in the base game is vastly more tedious than the DLC. The DLC actually has a lot of shit in it that just does not waste your time. So like, and this is going to be something that like differs between fans of this game or whatever, people who prefer collectibles over not having collectibles. So there's no new songs. There's no new playing cards. Um, this is I find this to be unfortunate. There is no key cards to be found here, so there's no infiltrating facilities. There is, I think there's caves, although I have not really checked into that. Like natural caves, I haven't checked into that. So I'm just playing multiplayer and just like trying to get like all the boss weapons and trying to see all the content and like get this review out because I've been dragging my feet for like the longest time not playing Ghost of Yotei because I wanted to give this game a fair chance. And I knew for a fact the second I touched Ghost of Yotei, like I did play here and there and like got my feet wet with it, but like I knew the second and like I start getting into that game, like that sweet spot where you're like, this is the game for me, right? So for me is when I got the Odachi, and I'm like, okay, this is an okay weapon, right? But then I'm like, what happens if I upgrade to like level 1? I did it, and oh my god, I'm like so in love with this game, but and immediately I had to put it down because I went from like fighting like a bunch of samurais and bandits and like having a hard time, and then I just upgraded it one level, and it's just like the game. It's just perfect. It's just too good. But like you can't disrespect Japanese games because they put a lot of hard work into it, and they're very enjoyable. And to me, this is like my childhood. Like this is what I grew up like. Watching, playing, games like this. I go to like Toys R Us or Sears or wherever and see like the little like they don't have those anymore. These little like kiosks or whatever, like these little booths that you could go and play these little video games. You could play Power Rangers and Tekkaman, Blade, and like oh man, so much, so much good stuff. Virtua on. I don't know if people know about that game. So primitive. So back in the day, Gun Griffin. Actually, I don't even know that much about that game. Like I heard like the Saturn version was really good, but the PlayStation 2 version just like it was just okay-ish. And now Mech Warriors, and now this. So what I see about this, right? Um, the future of this game with any possible DLC coming out in the future is it's just going to be more of the same and maybe then some. So let's say, okay, we're going to add substantially more to our next expansion pack. So instead of like, it being, what was it, 10, $15, instead of it being like, just a little bit, it's going to come out and cost like maybe 20, 25, and then it's going to have new music, maybe a new gene path, so like new different types of mutations. Like I said before, it'll go from, I think we have like 9 possible helmet combinations to 12, and then like wherever whatever those body modifications back, whatever those modifications would be for the new gene set. What else? What else? I don't know if we're gonna go beyond level 5 to a level 6, because then it just means throw away all your level 4s, right? For level 5s and 6s. And that's just like the endless thing to do. It's just constantly get rid of your attachments, constantly like update your builds. But that makes sense because I'm so lazy at doing that I have like builds where I have my satellite shield from like my previous version, which is like a D rank or something. It's just terrible. I take so much damage because it doesn't block that much, and then I change it over to the A rank one and just like blocks everything. And also, Eclipse was he was a fan of the series from the Switch days, the original, so he probably knows about how they want to roll out the multiplayer if they're going to roll it out. And he said that most likely they will, but they're probably going to do another expansion first, and we're also going to get I think 2 new bosses in December. So we got quite a bit of content coming our way in the next month. So that's pretty awesome. So on top of like getting to play Ghost of Yote finally, it's like take a break and upgrade my gear and get all the stuff. There's like they actually finished the amalgamate body, and I didn't find it yet. Just sucks because I really like the way it looked, but I'm using like the new head, the new Siegfried body. All the new parts are really well done. I have to admit, like there is, well, actually, I have to complain just a bit, just a bit. So some of the new parts, right? Specifically the Bale, and I don't know what they call this new one. It's based off of the Berserker armor in the base game. Yeah, they're just slightly modified versions of armor that we already have. Which, you know what I mean? Like, it's not like super lazy, but it's just like it's worth pointing out because it's like, okay, so what? Why? How are they different? Um, a lot of people, myself included, were like speculating. Okay, we see the 9, like the 9 bosses of the game, and they have these like special like kind of bird feather cape thingies around them, but only specifically for their parts. So when you farm them and you get their parts, you don't get the special cape feather thing, but they have them, and now suddenly these parts have it. So it's like, oh, that's so like it's such a cop out. Oh man, but I mean it's there. So that's what these new parts have. So instead of like the Berserk armor having its like classical like whatever it's a cape like drape whatever on the back. It's a peasant like thingy. It has some bird feather thing, and then it looks like slightly different on the chest area and stuff like that. And then the new Bale armor looks like the new pal looks it is the palace armor, just like slightly modified, and then like they changed like the collar around it from being like this shark teeth until they like flat and they gave it tail feathers. But like no complaints. I mean they even yeah it's 3 armors. What am I saying? They even gave back the explorer armor, and then it comes back with like tail feathers. But the helmet looks pretty cool, which I'm using it right now. Well, anyways, I'm glad that you watched my part 3 of this review because you know I think people need to give this game a shot. It's great, and I'm thankful that you watched this review. Take care.